Use extra caution if you will be carrying large containers of liquids. Liquids in an unbaffled container can slosh forward and backward and side to side, making your vehicle unstable. When transporting this kind of load, you will notice that braking distances are longer and cornering and handling become erratic. If you are going to carry big containers of liquid, we recommend getting a baffled tank designed to fit safely on your vehicle, or use an ATV trailer. Before towing anything with your ATV, read the manufacturer's manual on that subject. It will have specific recommendations on safe attachment points and load size limits. Never tow anything attached by a cable or rope to the carrier racks. This raises the center of gravity dangerously high and can cause the ATV to flip backward on you. Remember, hitch low and go slow. More rugged terrain requires ATV and FUV drivers to slow down and be more cautious. Never underestimate the danger of riding on slopes. When riding uphill, be aware that your center of gravity is shifting toward the rear and can potentially result in a backward rollover or backflip. Here are steps you need to take to counteract these rollover forces. When approaching a steep slope, you may need to stop and redistribute some cargo to the front of the vehicle. As you begin to climb, lean forward and crouch low. This, active driving, puts your weight where you want it, low and forward. Always climb hills in low gear and keep the throttle as steady as possible. Don't break your traction by revving the engine or popping the clutch. Remember, these are high-torque vehicles, and a sudden increase in power while the center of gravity is high and toward the rear can cause the ATV to pivot over the rear wheels and backflip onto you. If the hill is too steep for the vehicle, it may begin to stall and roll or slide backward. If you mash the rear brake, you can make the situation worse, resulting in a rear rollover. Here are some tips for when the slope is too steep. With the ATV pointed uphill, first apply the front brakes, then the rear brakes. If the vehicle continues to slide, then get off and stand clear. If the brakes are holding firmly, then step off the ATV while continuing to apply the brakes. Stand clear and set the parking brake. Turn the engine off. Now you can safely choose how to proceed. Do not stand directly downhill from the ATV. A successful outcome may require getting help from others and using specialized equipment like a winch. When driving downhill, the center of gravity shifts forward. The hazard becomes pitching or flipping forward. Here are some safety steps to driving downslopes safely. When approaching a steep downslope, you may need to stop and redistribute some cargo to the rear cargo rack. Slide back and upward into the seat. This puts your weight where it needs to be. Again, use your lower gears and never shift into neutral. Let the gears and engine help slow you down. Apply the rear brakes gently to avoid locking up the rear axle. Too forceful rear braking can cause the vehicle to slide sideways and possibly roll. Even though going along the sides of hills is safer than going straight up or down hills, ATVs and farm utility vehicles are unstable during this maneuver. Again, when approaching a slope, you may want to stop and move cargo to the uphill side to rebalance your machine. Even on mild grades, the center of gravity shifts to the downhill side, causing instability. Counteract this shift. Drive actively and move your body weight to the uphill side. Go slowly and pick your way across slopes. Avoid logs, rocks, and bumps. Elevating the uphill side of an ATV by running over a moderate-sized bump can be enough to cause a rollover. If you are traversing a slope and the ATV begins to roll over, try turning the wheels slightly downhill. This can sometimes restabilize the vehicle. If that is not possible, then carefully step off the ATV to the uphill side. The ATV may level itself after you dismount and the center of gravity is lowered. When driving through a curve in a car, the best time to brake is before you start the curve. When driving through curves, that rule definitely applies to ATVs and farm utility vehicles. In fact, with ATVs, braking during a curve can cause the wheels to skid outward from the line of the curve. When going into a curve, steer the handlebars into the turn, lean into the turn with your foot firmly braced on the outside foot plate. This active driving maneuver will counteract the forces pulling the ATV outward into a possible skid or a roll. If you are in a turn and feel the beginnings of a roll, try leaning your body further into the turn, reducing throttle slightly, and straightening the line of your turn a little to widen the turn radius. When approaching standing water, go slowly. Once you have scouted your route, then drive through the water at a steady, moderate pace. When you leave the water, test and dry your brakes with a few mild stops. Don't attempt to drive through fast-moving creeks, streams, or unfamiliar water. Modern ATVs and farm utility vehicles have a reverse gear. If your machine is not equipped with mirrors, make sure you carefully check the terrain behind you before reversing. Always try to park your vehicles on level ground. If you have to park on a slope, park at a crossing angle. Always deploy the parking brake and chock the wheels if you have to park on a slope. Loading and unloading an ATV or utility vehicle onto a truck or trailer can be very hazardous. You will usually be working at heights and at an angle, in a confined area, near an edge or drop-off, and all of this while you are on or next to a heavy machine with a changing center of gravity. Manage these hazards and reduce the potential for injury by minimizing the ramp angle. Use the terrain or even a platform. Use the lowest possible truck or trailer. Also, use a wide, easy-to-see ramp to allow extra clearance past the wheels. Strap the ramp in place so it cannot slide, shift, or separate during loading. Stay within the ramp's weight limit. Place the transmission in neutral or park, and set the brake before dismounting an ATV that is idling. There are several methods for loading and unloading ATVs. Which method to use depends on your particular situation. Experts agree that the safest of these methods is to use a winch in conjunction with a secured low-angle ramp. Only experienced operators should load and unload ATVs. Each situation is unique, so plan and prepare for your particular circumstances. Check with your supervisor if you have any questions about how to load or unload your ATV from a vehicle or trailer. It is not legal to ride ATVs and many FUVs on public roads. If your work requires you to cross a public road, it is critical that you always look in both directions before crossing. Cars and trucks travel country roads at high speed. Take your time and wait for a good, safe opportunity. Cross roads as closely to a 90-degree angle as possible. Because of the nature of agricultural work, ATV and FUV users may find themselves working alone and in distant locations. Establish a plan with coworkers or family members to phone in or do a radio check at certain times of the day. Let them know in advance where you will be working and what routes you plan on taking. Always let someone know when you are changing locations. And make sure you keep a fully stocked first aid kit on board at all times, as well as some drinking water and a good sunscreen.
ATVs and farm utility vehicles are commonly used on today's farms. For a variety of reasons, their use will continue to increase. As with all tools, these vehicles can be dangerous when not used correctly. That's why the California Farm Bureau Federation is proud to partner with the State Fund to produce this training video and a whole array of ag-specific safety training products. Additional information is available on the Farm Bureau, Farm Employers Labor Service, and State Fund websites. Thank you for taking the time to view this important safety message.